Hello, I'm Edward October. Over the years, I've narrated more ghost stories, horror shows, and creepypastas than I can count. And yet, the crimes discussed on our true crime podcast managed to scare the shit out of me. This program is not suitable for children or the faint of heart. If you are such a person, go ahead and switch off this podcast. Listen to something else. Are you still with us? Well, we've warned you.
Well, hello there, Jen.
Hey, Cam, how are you?
That was a little different intro for us.
No?
What's going on?
Not too much. What about yourself?
Oh, end of the year's winding down. I'm ready for summer.
Oh, yeah.
And, I have my kids, my seniors have, there's 4 more school days. And as you may or may not know, my daughter's graduating. So I'm a little
sad.
I'm a little teary-eyed.
Oh, it's a happy time.
I don't know if I'd say that, but the next 3 weeks are going to be crazy.
Yep.
So there's that.
Same here. Last day of our kids' school is the 19th of May. It's all fun. And if you can believe it, my youngest one tried to stay home from school today, faking sick. So I'm like, nope, you've only got a few more weeks. You got to go. So
yeah, well,
good times. Anyway, do you have anything for us today? I'm sure you do.
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
So, Jen, funny that I say this because this is a little relevant. One of the scariest yet most exciting things is letting go of your child as they are becoming an adult and going to college. Now, as a parent, you've done your job getting your child to this point. Now you have to drop them off at college, trusting that they'll be safe and will have a blast while, on the side getting a great education. That is how it is supposed to go. That is, but sadly, sometimes that's not always the case. Today, we are headed to the southern United States, to Mobile, Alabama, which I had no idea struggles with New Orleans as to who claims the right to have been the first one to hold Mardi Gras. Oh. That's right. Debate is to which city was the first Mardi Gras. I think New Orleans kind of is the king now, but by all little research, it's this little town here. So in Mobile, you'll find the University of South Alabama. Now, if you're a local or a student, it is simply called South. So, I go to South.
Gotcha.
The year is 1979, and 18-year-old Katherine Foster is really excited to be starting college. Now, Katherine has a beaming smile and a friendly personality, but that girl has brains because she was also the salutatorian of her class. Katherine, who came from a large Catholic family, was very close to her family, so she wanted to stay near them and chose South as her college since she was raised in nearby Pascagoula, Mississippi. Now, there were a few other reasons she stayed close to home, one being that her high school boyfriend, Tom Jodin, who played soccer for the school, and the other was that her bestie from high school, Tish O'Sullivan, was going to go there. The two girls had been friends since elementary school, so it was only natural that they would attend the same college. Early on, Katherine and Tish meet another student by the name of Jamie Cullen. Now, the three of them hit it off immediately, learning that Jamie is from Pascagoula as well. From that moment on, they are rarely seen without each other. So on February 21st, 1980, Katherine, Tish, and Jamie had made plans to go shopping after Tish got out of class. Now, the plan was to meet up at Jamie's car in the parking lot after class. Tish arrives at the car to find Jamie waiting. Now, Tish asks, hey, where's Katherine? And Jamie tells her that Katherine arrived only to have forgotten something and went back into the dorm to get it, but she had not yet returned. The pair waited for a little bit longer, and then they gave up, assuming that Katherine ran off with Tom and wanted to hang out. They did that a lot. So the two went and left without Katherine, thinking, hey, we'll hook up with her later. Tish went to her 2:00 class that she had with Katherine, ready to tease her for disappearing with Tom yet again and deserting her friends. But Katherine was a no-show for that class. Katherine was not a skipper. Remember, she was a salutatorian and always put her education first. Tish went to Tom and wanted to know, hey, where's Katherine? Running into him at the library, she asked him, and he was shocked. He didn't have any idea where she was. He had no idea she didn't show up for class. And in fact, he hadn't seen Katherine all day. Now, Tish is concerned since she and Jamie believe that Tom was with Katherine earlier when Katherine had failed to meet them. Just a few days earlier, Tom and Katherine had gotten into a fight at a party. Katherine came around a corner at the party and ran smack dab into Tom, who happened to be kissing another girl.
Ooh.
I don't miss
cool.
those days. Tom blew it off, but Katherine was really upset when it happened. That day, as the sun started to set, Katherine is still MIA. Tish, Jamie, and Tom are all getting extremely worried at this point. It was just about 6 p.m. when Tish decided to call Katherine's parents to inform them that they can't find Katherine. Her parents jump in the car and race up to the campus. They're shocked to learn that since Katherine is 18, and the time of this time period in time, because we've talked about this, they cannot file a missing persons report. At 18, Katherine is free to come and go as she wants, and so they must wait 24 hours. The officers on campus were given a photo of Katherine and asked to canvass the area and ask if anyone had seen her, running into kids. Campus security met with Katherine's friends and family and learned that this is not typical behavior for Katherine, and she would never just leave and not let someone know where she was going or check in with them. 24 hours later, the missing person report is finally filed. And, honestly, the missing poster is going up all around campus, and students they're kind of getting scared. They don't know what's going on. This is a small, quaint college. Nothing happens. Tish and Jamie hit the campus hard with posters, and they do lots of talking to students to see if anyone has seen Katherine. Now, the next morning was Saturday, and many students, along with the police, have arranged to search for Katherine near some woods by the campus. They weren't long into the search when one of the searchers screamed. It was 10:30 a.m., and Katherine had been found. She looked as if she was simply asleep. And at first, that's exactly what the person who found her thought, that she was just asleep. The head of security raced to get to her and confirmed that not only was it Katherine, but she was dead. Sergeant Wilbur Williams was one of the first to arrive on scene and would be put in charge of the case. As the investigators began to tape off the scene and take a deeper look, some things, how it goes, some things started to jump out to them immediately. Her clothes didn't look messed up, and there were no signs of a struggle. There were no signs of a sexual assault. It appeared that someone had killed her elsewhere and had just placed her body there. It was as if it was perfectly placed. There were no drag marks indicating that she had been pulled, through the woods or the loose brush.
Right. So somebody picked her up and carried her, right?
Yeah, as if she was simply put there and looked as if she were asleep. The ground around her body was not disturbed, proving that there was not a fight in the area, or that she had attempted to get away, or that she had attempted to get away. Nothing on the scene indicated that she had been tied up. What stuck out most was that Katherine, honestly, looked great. Not like she had been missing or out in the woods for 2 days.
Like Sleeping Beauty. That's what I'm thinking of.
Exactly.
She looked like Sleeping Beauty.
Perfect. All the evidence indicated that Katherine must have went willingly with her killer, and or that she knew the person that did this, or possibly she looked at the person as someone to trust. For instance, like a police officer or a teacher. The medical examiner believes she must have died 8 hours prior, or at the very longest, 24 hours, since her condition was so immaculate. This leads to a frightening thought. Since Katherine had been missing for 48 hours, did this mean someone kept her captive before killing her? As the news hits the media and the campus, fellow students are in shock, but they're also fearful. Police advise anyone with any information to come forward, no matter how small the detail may be. Police talk to her best friends, Tish and Jamie, to see if they can get a better understanding about the day's activities. Her childhood friend Tish is beyond distraught, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Tish explains that on that day, Katherine never showed up to meet them for a girls' shopping trip. Jamie would tell the story as she had it from her angle, adding that Katherine and she were walking to the car when Katherine remembered she left something behind in the dorm. Katherine would go back and get whatever it was, and she urged Jamie to go on and, I'll meet up with you guys in a few minutes. Jamie, just like Tish, is inconsolable. Both girls had solid alibis since they were together when Katherine went missing. And since she went missing, they both were together searching with others. And all of those people, of course, could provide a timeline alibi of them all being together looking for Katherine. Police want to bring in Tom, the boyfriend, in for an interview after the girls suggest that police should talk to him. As they're getting ready to do just that, a call comes in from someone at school. A student was in the dorm Friday night, sound asleep, when she awoke with an asthma attack. Needing to get some air, she opened the window and stuck her head out. As she did, she heard 2 pops, like poo-poo, gunshots.
Like gunshots, yeah.
Now, this was around 2:30 a.m. Thinking it was fireworks, she got her breath back and went back to sleep. The idea may have been that it was gunshots, didn't register with her until she learned that Katherine had been murdered by a gun nearby. When she went to campus security officers to tell her about the story, they would actually tell a very similar story. The 2 campus security guards said that they were walking the grounds on the campus that night and were startled when they hear 2 shots. They believed it to be kids partying, didn't think too much of it, and the shots would fit the timeline of Katherine's death. Police bring in Tom for a talk to find out about his whereabouts over that Friday night. Tom gives them a list of his classes, people he talked to, and, those people could, in fact, confirm his moves as well as any place that he had visited that day. Now, the most important question for Tom was, where were you at 2:30 a.m. Saturday morning? Tom said he was sound asleep and he was alone. Now, we know that's not a great alibi, albeit that's probably what most people would be doing at 2:30 in the morning. Now, even though Tom seems really upset, he tells the authorities he did not harm Katherine because he loved her. Police say, okay, well, why don't you come in for a polygraph test and we'll see what that has to say about you.
He loved her so much he was kissing on other women, right?
College, I swear. Boy. Tom agrees, and Tom fails the exam miserably. Now, since police don't have much on him other than a failed polygraph exam, Tom is allowed to go home, but hey, you need to stay nearby just in case we need you again. With nothing to tie Jamie, Tish, or Tom to the murder, the case is in desperate need of a lead. The investigation is into weeks now, and police are trying to, get everything, anyone, someone, anything, to come up with some new evidence or a new lead. Police decide to take a closer look at those that work on campus and may have access to students, even when they don't know it. A man comes into frame, and police want to know more about him. The man is a maintenance worker on campus, and the man has keys to any and all doors. Now, this means all classroom doors, all building doors, but also all dorm doors. When police run a background check on him, it comes back with an interesting tidbit. He has been arrested for sexual assault. He had offered a South student a ride home one evening, and once inside, he attacked her. She was able to fight him off and escape, but not before he shot her in the leg. And remarkably, the student looked a lot like Katherine.
Huh.
Police reach out to him, and he is quickly able to give them a solid alibi using his time cards and places of employment. So that failed. Police are frustrated, and they go back to step 1. All they can do is wait and hope that the wait isn't too long as the case file remains open. It's going to be open for a long time. On February 22nd, 1983, nearly 3 years since Katherine was located, a call comes into police about an attempted suicide. This is weird. Police report to the scene where they find a male who had completed suicide using sleeping pills. Now, the man's name was Michael Morris, and he had been, you ready? A security guard at South. And not just any security guard. He was the one on duty with his partner that fateful night, hearing the gunshots that were believed to have ended Katherine's life. But that is just the beginning of the strange ties to Katherine. As police are at his house, the weird meter goes off big time. As they're looking around, they see, well, I guess there's no other way to say it, a shrine to Katherine.
Ooh.
There were photos, drawings, writings, maps, and scribbles that were there, but also her autopsy report. Newspaper clippings were pinned up with details circled. It was a bizarre scene, and the stunned police are wondering if this is the killer of Katherine Foster. That wonder deepens as they find something truly surreal in his garage. Hidden high in a space in his garage was a homemade cage. That's right, a cage with a sheeted mattress and pillows inside. It was built from chicken wire with a lock on the outside. Police, which I can only imagine what was going through their head, are thinking that they're looking at where Katherine Foster spent the 12 to 24 hours prior to her death. This would explain why she did not have ligature marks, or how they believed that she was killed elsewhere and placed in the spot in which she was discovered.
Yeah,
Wearing the uniform would make Katherine feel comfortable to accompany him to a different location, right? It all made sense and it all fit. There was just one problem. Maris was on duty with another officer that night, and they both had reported hearing the shots, meaning they were both together when they heard the shots. Also, if Maris had abducted Katherine and kept her for hours, it is strange because you know what? She was never sexually assaulted. Officers reach out to the Maris family and learn what the cage was used for. It seems that Grandpa had severe dementia, and they would actually, which I think is so weird, they'd actually lock him in the cage at night so that he would not escape and injure himself.
Yeah, that's...
Maris was not the killer. Creepy, but not the killer.
Yeah, I think that's illegal. At least now it is. I didn't know back then, but that's elder abuse, I would think.
I guess it's not abuse. You're just locking him in there.
In a cage?
I don't even know.
I don't
know. Weigh in, people. I don't even know. It's above my pay grade. At this point, the case went cold. Police continued to work the case as leads came in, but they were becoming few and far between. Investigators would come and go as the years passed. 1 decade passed, and then 2 decades passed. Police were no closer than they were all those years ago. A new detective was put in charge of the case. Sergeant Mike Morgan, who attended South, had become aware of the case while he was a student at the school. Working in the homicide department, he would get tips and he would jump into gear and investigate. Morgan wished that he would be the one to finally solve this cold case and give closure to those who had spent so long looking for it. Mike Morgan was about to get his wish. It was December 4th, 2002, when a call comes in to Morgan from the local police department. The officer tells the detective that they have a man at the station with an odd story. One that, if true, would solve the Katherine Foster murder. Morgan, I can't imagine he's thrilled, hops into the car and travels to the police station, wondering just what this man had to say. Morgan arrives and meets with the man that we're going to call John, because of course we are. John tells the detective that he attends a local AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, right there in Pascagoula. John attends as a member, but he also sponsors new members with the hopes of keeping them clean. John said that one evening, after a meeting, someone came up to him and said that they were troubled by something. Now, a little backstory on this, you may or may not know. There are 12 steps in the AA program that one must travel on their journey of recovery. Step 9 is as follows. Made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, the belief here is that you need more than words. Amends as actions taken that demonstrate your new way of life in recovery. When you make amends, you acknowledge and align your values with your actions by admitting wrongdoing and then living by your principles. Thank you, HazeltonBettyFord.org.
There you go.
There you go. That's where I got that from. So John suggested that this person who had come and told him this write a letter to the person that they feel that they had wronged and then read it to the person. And John even agreed to take them to the person and wait in the car for support, which is super nice.
Was he the sponsor?
Yeah, he's a sponsor. That's what I said earlier.
Okay.
You missed that. The letter goes something like this. Dear Katherine, after all these years, I've come to you. It's me, the girl who took your life. I don't know where to begin. I was your friend, but I was obsessed with Tom. And for what it's worth, Tom hated me after your death.
Well, Okay.
Although no one could ever prove that I shot you, everyone knew that I was obsessed with Tom, that I had manipulated my way into his life, and I think many people suspected that I killed you. I'm wanting to tell you my life was shattered after this, and in some of the ways. In this one horrible act, I destroyed 2 lives, yours and my own. But as I write, I realize that even now, when I come here to sort things out with you, that I am being selfish, Kate. I am acutely aware of what I did that day in ending your life. I robbed your family and your loved ones of a future with you. Only God knows what you might have contributed. At the very least, I robbed you of the chance to experience a full life. No children, no fulfilling career, and the opportunity to continue on the path you were on and to grow in God's love. You were a good girl, a good Catholic. You cared about people, and you were going to Ireland to work with children in the war zone to try to bring peace to the communities. You have traveled to Mexico to help the poor in Saltillo. I am wiped out by all the good in one evil, selfish moment. I came here to make amends to you, but there is no way I can make amends for killing you. There is no way to make things right, but at least I want you to know that I realize what a horrible thing I did. And also, for what it's worth, I want you to know that I live my life every day under this. And I realize that no good will ever really come of me because I have this mark on my soul from when I killed you. My children are affected. It is a sickness that grows and affects everyone I come into contact with. I have often thought, Kate, to make things right, I should take my life, but I am too afraid, and I think that even as broken as I am, that my children need me. So, Kate, I am sorry for what I robbed you of, the pain I caused your family, especially your mother, Joanne, who is probably the greatest woman I've ever known. I don't know what else to say, Katie, so goodbye. At this point, it had been 44 years since the death of Katherine, and there was one word that I left out in the first sentence of this letter. And that sentence was, after all these years, I've come to you. It is me, Jamie, the girl who took your life. Jamie, her good friend.
Wow. Well, obviously they weren't that great friends.
Well, she liked Tom.
Are you sure it was 44 years ago?
It's 44 years as of today. 30 years since she got justice. The AA sponsor went to the police telling them that the person he was sponsoring confessed to the murder of Katherine Foster. Jamie told her sponsor that she lured Katherine into the woods under the guise of looking for plants for a class she was taking. Katherine, of course, because it's her friend, happily agreed. As the two were trekking out into the forest near the campus, Jamie made sure that Katherine was in front of her. As Katherine was picking plants to examine them, Jamie took out a gun, a .22 caliber that she'd stolen from her grandmother, and shot her friend in the back of the head. Jamie turned around and looked at her, and the shock was evident. She fell to the ground perfectly. Jamie then took the gun and put another shot in her temple. Jamie then took the gun and threw it in a dumpster on campus and rushed back to the spot where the 3 girls had agreed to meet to go shopping. So she did all that and remained cool and calm as a cucumber.
She's psychopath, kind of, don't you think?
Totally. When Katherine failed to show for their shopping date, Jamie explained to Susie that Katherine decided to go out and hang out with her boyfriend instead. And I guess, Katherine had done that before, as
girls, people do, right?
People do, right? So the AA sponsor told officers the name of the woman who confessed was Jamie Letson. Now, reviewing the Katherine Foster file, there was no Jamie Letson, but there was, however, a Jamie Cullen. Now, Jamie was, in fact, the same Jamie that was besties with Katherine, but had since been married since college. Jamie also had her fair share of troubles over the years with several arrests to her name. Drug troubles, theft troubles, just not in a good place. Things like this have to hang over you. They have to.
I don't know. Some people seem to
Be okay?
Yeah, like she went 30 years without having a
Until
conscience until she got sober, and then she had to do her 12 steps.
Back at the time of the investigation, Jamie had an alibi and it checked out, but there was just a little mistake about all that. This was February, and it was cold. Katherine, was believed to have been killed within this window because her body had been in such good shape. But the problem was that it was so cold, her body was preserved. So when they found her, they thought she had been killed. She'd only been there for so long. But the truth of the matter was she was there much longer. So she had been killed that very afternoon, but because the cold weather kept her body in pristine condition, they assumed it had been over a 24-hour period when it really was just a mere couple hours. So this goes back to those gunshots that were heard by the security guards. And at that time, they heard it was around 2:30 in the morning. So that's when they assumed Katherine had been killed, when in actuality, she had been murdered like 2:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, somewhere in there, right? So the fact is when they heard those gunshots for once in the world, they really were fireworks. They weren't gunshots.
Really? Ah.
So all of this threw the time of death off. So they were looking at somebody that had murdered her at around 2:30 in the morning, so in the middle of the night.
When it was 12 hours earlier or later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what police need now is that letter that Jamie wrote about Katherine. Police go to Jamie's stepfather and learn that they basically knock on the door and they're like, hey, we heard about this letter. And the stepfather says, you mean the letter? So, which is so weird. If you had that, like you're keeping that. I don't, you and I have all talked about like our kids. And if they did something,
it would hurt, but you would turn them in, right?
You have to.
You have to.
So he goes into a locked cabinet, gets it, turns it over to police. And they're like, yep, that's it. So it turns out the motive was very simple. It was just jealousy over Tom. Jamie wanted Tom for herself, and the only way to get that was to take Katherine out of the picture.
Well, there's other ways, but,
For her. I mean, this is her,
she
not
could
me,
just
of course.
Get over it and just, that Tom's maybe not interested in her. And, I think killing your friend to get to their boyfriend is a little overzealous, but...
Little much?
Yeah.
Little much?
For me...
Maybe. On November 21st, 2008, Jamie Lutzen is arrested for the murder of her friend Katherine Foster. She was located at a Jackson, Mississippi shelter and taken into custody nearly 30 years after Katherine was killed. Jamie would, of course, shocker, plead not guilty in court even after confessing on tape the whole grisly story to police officers.
What? Was she trying to do like an insanity plea, or you're going to tell me?
No, they just do that. No, there's no telling. They just do that. The defense would use that they would come out and say that security guard was the one that actually killed Katherine Foster, the one that had completed suicide with the shrine, but that's not true. Thankfully, the jury did not believe that to be the case, and the security guard is cleared. On May 27th, 2010, Jamie Cullen Lutzen is found guilty of first-degree murder and receives a life sentence. She is incarcerated at the Julia Tutwiler Annex in the Alabama Department of Corrections. Her first possible parole date, yes, that's right, takes place this year on November 1st, 2023. And at that point, she will have served 13 years.
Wow.
Some 30 years after Katherine Foster.
Only 13 years, huh?
So I guess a little side note here, and I didn't even write this down, but I guess Tom, I think it was at the funeral. She went to the funeral, and poor Katherine Foster's parents, of course, Jamie goes to the funeral, and she's, one of Katherine's best friends, so she is, dare I say, feigning sadness and all that. So Katherine's parents were just devastated to learn that, and they really had a hard time believing that Katherine's good friend did this to her because she sat there on the pew in the church with the funeral thing. But Tom had come up to her and he basically said, I know you did this. I know you have something to do with this. But they could never prove it. And, at first she was one of the first because she, her, Tish, and Tom were, of course, on the hot seat because they were her friends.
Close
but
circle.
she had that little alibi. And then the time of death was skewed because of the weather and all of that and how perfect she looked. But you do have to think about, like, she wasn't sexually assaulted, right? So then you got to think, like, who would kill her in the head?
To kill her.
Yes.
But
like, so, I don't know.
I'm curious, how do you think, was there any clue on how Tom suspected Jamie?
No, because I think she was, like, madly in love with him, and he knew it, and he was like, I know you have something to do with this. I don't know. You know, people know, and I guess maybe, like, being a good person, a nice person, Katherine was just like, well, this is my friend, and she just, like, likes my boyfriend. Dare I say, some people we went to high school with, and that happened.
Right.
Like, so it happens, but
Hit me with your best shot.
That's right, baby.
Yeah. Real tough cookie. Yeah, but I wonder if, like, wouldn't you say to the police, you're Tom, and you're just like, I know we're friends, but I kind of have a suspicion.
I think that I'm sure he did, but the whole time of death was skewed.
Right.
Like, she literally was killed. Like, talk about cold-hearted. Her, Tish, and Katherine. So Jamie, Tish, and Katherine were all going to go out shopping that day. So they were all meeting at the car, and this is like a 15-minute window. So she says, hey, can you come help me, get these plants or whatever? Takes her out, shoots her, races back to the car, not even a sweat broken, and then says, oh, yeah, Katherine, whatever, she forgot something in her dorm. I'm sure she's hanging out with Tom. Let's just go. I mean, it was like that quick.
Wow, so it was like just everything aligned up perfectly.
Yep.
Wow.
And you wouldn't think that, like when we were teenagers, we'd be like, let's go to A&W, let's go to McDonald's, all that stuff to go. But yeah. Wow. So the whole, she had to know that she was going to, face justice and writing a letter. The thing for me is that the sponsor takes her to the gravesite where she reads over Katherine's grave this letter. And this whole time, that sponsor has to be like, WTF, what? Like,
and
what?
not automatically drive her to the police station.
Yeah. So it's like, because part of that amends thing, the 12-step stuff, is that you have to come clean, right? No matter what happens,
and
you have to.
She did. She came clean.
Oh, she did. She did. So, yeah. And, I honestly, and I hate to say this, if she wouldn't have told the sponsor, if she would have written the letter and just done that on her own and then got rid of the letter, which is weird because she did give it to the stepfather, right? So there were other people that knew. But if she would have done that on her own, she still
would have gotten away with it.
Yeah, she would have gotten away with it. 30 years later, So, yeah.
Well, I will say that it must have weighed a bit heavily on her since she became an alcoholic, I'm sure.
And I think maybe all of that
to do with it.
All of it had to do with that. Like that, you can't kill you can't kill anybody, much less your best friend, and not have that basically ruin your life. Correction. I say that as a normal person, like a person that is not.
Well, in her mind, she thought she would just kill Katherine,
and then Tom would love me.
Her and Tom would just run off into the sunset.
Well,
together.
and you remember in that letter that here, let me go back to this a second, because this is stuff that I swear to goodness, you just can't make this up. In her letter to Katherine, she says, I wanted, again, I don't know where to begin. I was your friend. I was obsessed with Tom. And for what it's worth, Tom hated me after your death. Mm-hmm. Although no one could prove that I shot you, everyone knew that I was obsessed with Tom and that I had manipulated my way into his life. And I think many people suspected that I killed you. But being a suspect or suspecting somebody of something does not make you guilty.
Without any proof.
So, yeah. So in that letter, also, if you read between the lines, it's very like, I did this to you and I'm so sorry, but also look at me, my life was ruined.
Yeah.
My life was shattered and I destroyed both of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And
poor baby.
So,
yeah. At least you got to lead a shattered life, but it was a
all
life
those
nonetheless. Years. Right?
30 years. 30 plus 18. That's a lot.
Wow.
But 30 years living. Yep.
Jealousy. I tell you.
Do you want me to sing Jealousy?
No. I love men. I do. But I don't think I would ever kill anybody over one.
Well, I just was like thinking about you because we've been friends and like we get mad at each other like there's no tomorrow. But I don't Like, there has to be a screw loose. There has to be a little. I don't want to say that we're judging people, but sometimes, like, it's just.
There's a disconnect somewhere.
Yes. Something is.
That makes them.
A little bit off.
Thinking that I will kill you because that will make such and such love me. Mm-hmm. That's not proper thinking.
And I'm guessing that, you know, looking into all this, there's probably lots of it. Katherine was super smart, super cute, just a good girl, sweet girl. Like, and
there's probably a lot of reasons to be jealous of her.
Yes,
right?
That's what I'm saying. So it's not just Tom. It's,
right.
But I don't know. I don't know.
There's jealousy, and then there's murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally. It is messed up.
It is messed up. Wow. So is she still in prison? She's out of prison?
She is still in prison. No, she's still in prison. Mm-hmm. And her parole date would be this November. That's her first shot at getting parole. November 1st of this year. And she's getting up there in years, you know, because, but I doubted they would let her out. She's only served 13. But ideally, if she had went in when she killed her in 1980, right? She probably would be out today. I forget the year because it's been so long since I started. 1980. Yeah, right. 1980. So that is the story of Katherine Foster, and it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. I don't know. Kids, like, their little minds they're just not developed yet. So do we have any promos?
We do. Speaking of beauty and brains, it's
Camille. It's Camille. Thank you, Dad.
We have the podcast Murder, She Told by our ever so sweet friend, Kristen. She is a certified victims advocate, and her podcast focuses on Maine and the New England area. It's a great podcast. It's even won some awards, and I forgot to write them down before we came. but it is an award-winning podcast. And
I wish we were award-winning.
I'll make awards for us. But anyway, Kristen, she'll have victims' families on, and they'll be interviewed. She'll interview them and all sorts of stuff. It's a really great podcast. I follow her on all the social medias. I've listened to her. A lot of the cases I've never heard before, but it's great.
And she is a true advocate.
She is a true advocate
for those.
She really is, and she's adorable.
Caring
she's
about
sweet.
People
and when I say she's cute, I mean she models. She's an actress. Yeah, she's all around. She's a great girl.
She's good people.
Great woman, I should say. But
she's good people.
I really like her. She's really sweet. We just actually really got to know her last December. Whoops, I just hit my microphone. But we really met her in December, and she's fantastic. Totally love her. So seriously, Murder, She Told is the podcast, and make sure you listen.
All right. Stay tuned for that. All right. You want to tell the good people where they can catch us in August?
Yes, in August, the 26th, 27th, and 28th, I believe, something like that. At the end of August, we will be at the True Crime Podcast Festival in Austin, Texas.
Woohoo!
You can go to the website of the True Crime Podcast Festival.com and get tickets. Come see us. We'd love to see you. There's a whole bunch of podcasters that are going to be there.
Mm-hmm. Good people. It's a fun time, really.
It is.
Yeah.
We always have a good time. So, yeah, come see us. We'd love to have you come see us. Can I say come see us anymore? Come see us.
Hey, guess what? Could they come see us?
They could come see us.
They could come see us.
Totally think they should come see us.
I really think, hey, if you want to, come see us. All right. Let's wind it down. These people are like, shut up.
I know.
Okay. Until next time, remember, lock your doors.
And keep passing by those open windows.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast. or on Twitter at OurTrueCrimePod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.
Growing up as a latchkey kid in a small town in Maine, I always assumed I was safe. After all, unless it made national news, murder wasn't something people talked about around here. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Murder, She Told is an award-winning true crime podcast that dives into the lesser-known cold cases and true crime stories from Maine, New England, and beyond. Created by me, Kristen Zeevey, a victim's advocate. Murder, She Told uses detailed storytelling with an investigative twist, weaving in original interviews with those closest to the case. Rooted in deep research, straightforward narratives, and the victims and their family at the center of every story, Murder, She Told will speak to any listener, no matter where they call home. Learn more at murdershetold.com or find Murder, She Told now wherever you get podcasts.
Also, if Maris had abducted Katherine and kept her for hours, it's strange. Because you know what? She was never sexually assaulted.
What? Oh, shit.
What?
Something licked my toes.
What do you mean?
And it scared me. It's Gilbert. I didn't see that he was in here.
God, you scared me. I thought it was
You
a
were scared?
ghost.
You were scared?
Oh, my God. I was like, where's it going?
Gilbert, damn it. Sorry. Fuck.
I thought you liked that. You only like the licking of the toes. What's coming?
I'm not. Well, you're talking about some guy who has this weird fetish locking women up, and all of a sudden something licks my toes. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Oh, shit. That's scary. Like, my heart's racing. I thought, oh, my God, what happened?
Mine's racing, too. Shit. I'm sorry. All right, I didn't see.
Well, nothing.
Gilbert loves this Gilbert loves this office, and when I came down here, the door was open, and the lights were off, and I didn't even see him. He must be have a place to. I don't know. I didn't see him.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Jesus. All right. I'm sorry.
I'm just gonna go back like a sentence or two, Nico, before Jennifer's got a pervert in her basement.
Only a 14 or 18-pound cat.